Welcome to the fourth quarterly meeting of the Transportation Advisory Committee. Please be advised this meeting is being recorded and televised, and that all transcripts of the meeting will be available on board docs. The meeting is scheduled for 1 hour, but may run longer if discussion is warranted. Can we start with the roll call?
Yes, Madam Secretary, I have you, Laura Carrington, Thomas Rogers,
Yes.
myself, Guy Bradley, Secretary, Mr. George Clark, Karen Gardner. Karen, are you there?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay.
Thank you.
Lisa Lemke.
Thought you were doing the honor.
Oh, sorry. Lisa Lemke. Bill Roberts.
Present.
Hello? Yolanda Hipsky.
Present.
Nancy Karinsky. Lachelle McKay. Melinda Lyon.
Present.
Kevin Corrigan.
Present, online.
Courtney Jenkins.
Here.
Okay. All members have been roll called, and I'm showing 3 absent. Looks like we have a quorum.
Sounds good to me. Could we have a motion to accept the July minutes?
I propose a motion to accept or approve the July 15th, 2021 TAC meeting minutes.
Is that a motion by?
And I, Kevin Corrigan, would second the motion.
Copy.
Okay, I'll jump right into the officer reports. So as part of this committee's reconfiguration process, so to speak, I've been engaging individual committee members to determine what direction they like to take the board. I found a number of desires were held in common between members. In addition, some discussion topics I found were addressed by various transportation documents shared by Mr. George Clark following last quarter's meeting. Some recurring themes were the need to focus on and/or expand access to other means of transportation within the county. Topics such as multimodal transportation are being discussed as part of the Calvert and St. Mary's Complete Streets program. As the results of said program and its studies have a direct impact on transportation in this county, this committee would do well to be involved in those efforts or at least stay up to date. Expanding our focus on other aspects of transportation is also a good step to take. I felt the easiest way to achieve this task is to invite some of our ex officio members to give updates on their areas of transportation focus, discuss any challenges they are encountering, and discuss how the Transportation Committee can assist. Discussions such as the seemingly stalled sidewalk construction right there in Leonardtown, a brand new convoy of open-air trolleys that a use has yet to be found for, and traffic easement on and off base are all discussions I'm sure the committee itself has had in the past and that I would very much like to get back to. I believe this input from the committee will not only keep all of our members on the same page, but provide an eye-opening big picture idea of the different functions and ongoings of transportations in our county for our citizen representatives and public audience. We also have the option of expanding the staff report to cover topics of interest. Today, the staff report will largely involve updates on the bus transit services, but I invite all of our members to divulge what they would like to see covered in future staff reports after it's given. Finally, we are still looking for ways to increase community engagement with the committee. Thus far, it's proved difficult to retain citizen representatives for attendance at meetings as they occur during the workday. It has also proved difficult to get all of our ex officio members on board with hosting these same meetings well after the workday, as the meetings themselves are part of their daily functions. But I want to emphasize this point. Increased citizen involvement is crucial to the efficacy of this committee. However, there are other means of keeping the community involved and an ear to the ground. Access to meeting recordings will keep the public informed of our activities, but if we want the public to reach us, we will have to step up efforts to bring them on board. Now that we have our new location solidified, we should begin to heavily advertise our presence via the methods I discussed in the July meeting: press releases, radio, library flyers, local publications, Chamber of Commerce. All of these methods are open for us to use, but most are free or already paid for. The STS buses themselves could serve as mobile invitations to come and join our committee, any other openly recruiting committee. We could pass applications out on the buses, leave flyers up at the hubs, and etc. Now that we have the ball rolling, it's time to build momentum. Now, before we get into the staff report, we have our first member reports for this cycle. First up, I invited Ms. Sabrina Hecht with Community Planning for Pax River. Sabrina?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sabrina Hecht. I'm the Community Planning Liaison Officer for Naval Air Station Patuxent River. In the past, we have had a regional transportation initiative that kind of coincided with some of the initiatives that the Transportation Advisory Committee worked on. We really had robust meetings prior to COVID. And when COVID hit and Pax River went to mainly telework or mostly telework, the need for reducing traffic onto the base and the problems that we were having went away. New problems arise, but the actual trying to get vehicles off the road, using multimodal, getting an on-base taxi, getting the word out for stipends if people were to use vans and other items. Sorry, I'm hearing some feedback. Hold on a second. Kind of left that for kind of, we stopped meeting basically. So I'm looking at for the future, kind of re-engaging those meetings. If not, maybe the Transportation Advisory Committee will kind of help shape that. Right now on Pax River, we actually had some of our transportation funding cut. So some of our vehicles on base, and I'm just throwing out a number, this is not actual, we went from 20 vehicles to 10 vehicles. So for all our tenants on the base, whether they're supply, or they're from NavAir, or Public Works, or environmental, or headquarters, are basically getting their fleet reduced in half. Why is this important? Well, the base is pretty big. I think most of you have probably been on the base previously. And meetings, you need to go to meetings, you need to go out and look at sites, whether a building's getting built or looking at the runways, different meetings from the Atlantic Test Range over to headquarters. So one of the initiatives we had about 2 years ago was getting an on-base taxi. We had an on-base taxi for about 10 years, from 2010 to 2012, but then again, our budget got cut. So that was a great way for people who were actually carpooling to their offices with other people, getting vehicles off the road, and they were able to get to on-base meetings with the taxi. Well, I don't see the taxi happening anytime soon. One of the initiatives that I'm looking at with our Morale, Welfare, and Recreation Director is potential bike share on base. And this would be used for whether it's employees, our families that live on base, or the sailors that live on base, or anybody who utilizes, say, our recreation facilities. This is something that, we've seen pop up, I'd say really a lot over the last 5 to 10 years in larger cities. You see the line bikes and then the red bikes. This could be really a good thing for us when, we do have our nodes, our transportation, or excuse me, our, I lost the name, our town centers, our work centers. They are spread out, but getting there by bike would be something to get those vehicles off the road, reduce emissions, provide a friendlier, more multimodal options on base. So that's one of the things we're looking at right now. Other items, we've had our Gate 2. We've had a Milcon in for that, probably for over 10 or 15 years, to do upgrades to to that entry control point. Right now, Gate 1 is our main entrance to Pax River and our 24-hour entrance. If we get the upgrades that we need to Gate 2, it will potentially become the main gate, and that's the gateway to Great Mills and Lexington Park. So those are some of the things that we're looking at. And that's kind of my update for now. I just want to say that the name Nancy Krasneski that you had as one of the members, I am actually her now. She's no longer in that position. I'm not sure if she really can be a voting member because she's from Pax River, but she's not absent. She's just not in that position any longer. And if there's any questions for me, please feel free.
Thank you for that, Sabrina. Next up, we have Professor Bill Roberts of St. Mary's College with a few words on Environmental Health Action Team with Healthy St. Mary's.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I hope you all can hear me. Bill Roberts, St. Mary's College. I also I'm also a board member with Feed St. Mary's Food Bank, relatively new food bank supported by the commissioners and the Rotary here in the county, and have been working with the Environmental Action Team, one of 4 action teams on the Healthy St. Mary's Partnership. One of the goals of the Environmental Action Team over the next 5 years is to reduce food insecurity in the county by 10%. Myself and other members of that action team have been working together as in a subgroup known as the Food Mapping Group, or it's the Food Mapping Project. And so we have been using GIS in order to indicate in a visual form where people can access food. That would include grocery stores, farmers markets, also some of the, smaller vendor stands that are seasonal, and other places where either canned or fresh produce or other things can be found. We've also begun, that's to show where people can access food. I think we're including some restaurants and those kinds of, that kind of information as well. But we're also beginning to look at data that we're hoping to be able to put on the map about where other agencies are providing support to make individuals and households more food secure. This would be the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, the WIC program. We're trying to, talk with St. Mary's County Public Schools. All of this is to say that there will be a lot of information on this map as we add those data, and then the transportation data where the STS services run will also be mapped onto that, and so we'll get a better sense of the extent to which the STS is connecting perhaps areas where food insecurity is greatest with locations that are in the county where people can access food. That would include, I think I failed to mention that the food pantries would also be on the map as well. Madam Chair, I think that concludes my remarks right now, but I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has, if I can.
Hey, Bill.
Thank you for that, Professor. Go
Hey,
ahead.
Madam Chair.
Sir.
I do have a question for Bill. Bill, how can the transportation, this committee help in your endeavors? What ideas or thoughts do you need from us, or actions would you like to see from us to help you out? And Sabrina, I also have a question for you after I get done with Bill. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, well, thanks for the question. And I think that one of the things that we want to, try to figure out as we map these data, and I'm also drawing on my, past my past work with the STS over the years is that when you have a combination of food insecurity and transportation insecurity combined, you're in a very vulnerable place. And so I don't have an answer, a specific answer, but I think that once we get a better idea of what the geography, what those areas look like where transportation insecurity might be high. And by transportation insecurity, I'm referring to households in the county that either have no car or you have perhaps one car that may not run so well, or you don't have anybody that has is able to drive for any number of reasons. So that's a way of contextualizing that but I think that and one of the things that I brought up when Madam Chair asked us about, for some input, for some ideas, would be to look at seeing to what extent we might be able to modify existing routes so that they would stop at pantries, as is the case right now. And I apologize for not being able to tell you which route it is, but there is a regular service to Good Samaritan Lutheran Church where there is both the pantry and the county soup kitchen. And that is, I know, used from time to time. But I don't have, kind of the firsthand data from observation or other reports, and the map's not done yet. So if you could just be patient, I hope we will be able to provide some information, and maybe we can all sit down together and brainstorm some ideas.
Thank you. For Ms. Heck, the question I had for you, ma'am, kind of along the same lines. Obviously, the St. Mary's County doesn't have any jurisdiction over the base, but how could we help in your efforts as well? What would you like to see from us? Nope, she's on mute. She may have gone. Oh,
Hi,
there
I'm
she
back. I'm sorry. And then I changed clothes. Just support with some of maybe the looking into the grant funding that might be available out in town that can support some base initiatives. Recently with St. Mary's County, we received $394,000 in grant funding for a crosswalk and a sidewalk from Gate 2 across Route 235 to Great Mills Road, as well as the sidewalk from Gate 1 to Gate 2. This is going to help the county. It's going to help the base. Those type of initiatives, specifically, like right now, we're looking at this bike share ride, and that would be important to see if we can do some sort of collaboration, coordination with, maybe it could be used both on and off base. We have Tulagi Place, which is the bus station, but if it could be also a bike station as well, that they could have access from the Frank Knox building onto base, just those type of things, those type of initiatives. It's really funding. That's what we're all lacking, right?
Yeah.
Get anything done, have the initiative to want to get it done. It's just that we're lacking funding. Over.
Thank you. Any other questions for either of these two in the room? All right, Madam Chair, back to you.
All right, thank you. And can we do the staff report now?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. STS, so specifically reporting for STS. STS is reporting in the month of October. Our quarter one quarterly report is due at the end of the month, as well as our National Transportation Database reporting. That's also due on the 31st of this month. We are on the Commissioner's agenda for the safety plan and the next fiscal year grant approval, fiscal year 22. That's both on November 16th. And our new grant application for fiscal year 23 is due in March. So we'll be working steadily on that. It is a pretty big package. STS currently operates with 24 buses. We are experiencing the same driver shortage as the rest of the nation. Right now, we are approximately 36% short of drivers. And because of such, we've committed as much as we can, but now we are in serious discussions for route reductions until we can recuperate some of our drivers and increase our driving staff. Upcoming projects, we are in the process of printing new booklets. We're in the final stages of the proofing, and those are the route schedule booklets that are folded in half and approximately 26 pages long or so. So I know we've had multiple and numerous requests for those. They are coming and they will be out shortly. Let's see. We are adding, so part of the booklets, they will have the 3 senior centers for the county are all included on the fixed routes now, as will be the new library right over here in Leonardtown. And then finally, upcoming project or reoccurring that we're still working on is our bus stop signs. We've almost finalized that. The routes that are posted in the new booklet are approximately where the signs will go. Still need to have the signs made and then actually put in the ground. But all the permitting has been approved from State Highway, so we're well underway. Finally, it's just sending the traffic plan to State Highway so that they verify everyone is safe while we're installing the signage, and then it's, for the most part, a done deal. And I believe that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Allison. Are there other topics we wish to include in future staff reports? I was interested to hear about the labor shortage in the bus drivers specifically. So I'm glad that was in the report. But are there any other topics that anyone else would like to see?
Probably not for an inclusion in a report, but an interesting note about the bus driver shortage. Do they know why? Is it pay? Is it people having other skills? Is it job requirements? Do they have an idea as to why they're experiencing a bus shortage?
I think it's a combination of a lot of factors. I mean, as you know, it's not just isolated to Southern Maryland, it's nationwide. So it's all through the trucking industry. There's continuous shortages really all the way around. So part of it is probably due in part to pay. Others is they need a CDL Class B with a passenger endorsement. And right now, because of the shortage, it's a laborer's market where they can essentially choose to go to the highest bidder. So anyone that's offering sign-on bonuses, higher pays, things like that, those are the first options and are more appealing to the drivers that have these licenses.
Okay.
And is that something that, or those things you mentioned, is that something that our county is having difficulty competing with?
Absolutely, and it's not just our county, it's also Calvert and Charles as well. It's, and we're county government, we're paid both through county funds as well as the grant funds, and we don't have the luxury of the private organizations and the private companies that can offer immediate incentives or incentives without getting or going through some type of an approval process or something like that. So also with the grant funding, it's to ensure that we do have all the funding in place. So what is not covered by the grant is then covered by the commissioners, everything that's above and beyond.
So this next question you may not be able to answer, but we've got Mr. Roberts right on the phone here with the college, and we've got CSM right up here. Has any kind of outreach been made to the colleges to see if they can alleviate some of the labor shortages with using college students part-time? Is there something prohibiting a certain age group from becoming bus drivers? You mentioned the CDLB with passenger, so I'm sure some training's involved.
So yes and no. We just started a pilot program. We've had one driver successfully complete the program, and that is to bring in a non-CDL driver, so essentially a Class C driver's license. And we have paid for them to go through the program and to get their CDL. The other piece that we're finding is that the MVA, because they are so backlogged, it takes months for any individual to get an appointment. That was the case. So through this pilot program, the employee finished the on-site training with CSM in July, and she only just got her license a month ago. So there's definitely that time period. Right now, my efforts are to home grow my workforce, if you will, but my restriction is I only have 2 of my smaller class vehicles, buses, that are not CDL rated. So what my attempt is to staff them 2 on each bus, 1 from 4 a.m. to noon and 1 from noon to 8 p.m. that will assist with our paratransit client transportation. So essentially I can hire 4 non-CDL. I have 2 now and 1 application that's in the works. I haven't received any more to continue that process.
Okay.
So efforts are being made in any way, shape, or form that we can think outside the box and try to bring more individuals in. It's just, it's a cycle, and everything takes time.
College students are always looking for money.
Yes, yes.
Madam-
So
Madam-
as of right
At
now.
least my daughter is.
Right, so as of right now, I only have 1 non-CDL position that would be vacant and available. This is also contingent on my 2 vehicles. One of the buses has 350,000, the other's 450,000 miles already with 1 engine change and transmission change. If either of those 2 vehicles go out of service, I don't have anything new.
It's a multi-layered problem.
Right, so
Definitely.
we did in this fiscal year 22 grant application, we were awarded 2 of the smaller non-CDL rated vehicles for replacements. However, it's a 12 to 18 month turnaround for delivery of those vehicles. So my next grant application will be probably in and submitted and approved, and that potentially grant awarded prior to receiving the FY22 vehicles.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure, yes.
If I may add to the, about the driver shortage, it is, as Ms. Swint said, it is through the region. The Tri-County Council has been working with the Workforce Development branch and the regional RTCC, Regional Transportation Coordination Committee. We're trying to do a mini job fair. I know I have been in conversations with Ms. Swint as well as some other organizations about trying to get some drivers, but it is throughout the region, throughout the country.
Understandable. Okay. And I think it might behoove us to hear directly from some of the drivers that we have on hand right now. As far as I know, we don't have any present on the board, but I think that should probably change.
We may have to table that for a future discussion, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any further questions with the staff reports? Hearing none. Moving on to announcements. The January elections are coming up and will be conducted at the meeting in 2022. I will be self-nominating. So if you're tired of my voice, now is the time to input nominations. All of the officer roles are up for re-election yearly, and I believe we have currently 3 of 4 positions filled. Are there any other announcements?
We do have the annual report coming up. We do need to discuss that and how we're going to get the report out. It can be as short as 1 page, or it can be lengthy. The problem that besets the board is that if we do anything over a quorum, it becomes a meeting. So do we have to have a special meeting to discuss the notes before the end of the year? So I've talked to Ms. Swint about some ideas, but I think us as a board need to have a quick discussion on that at some point during this meeting so we can figure out what we want to do and how we want to do it. Because I know a lot of us are volunteering, like I'm on my lunch hour right now to sit here. And I
Same.
don't want to take up a lot of time with it, but we have to follow the open rules, meetings, requirements. So, Madam Chair, when you're ready, we do need to come up with a reasonable solution to that.
I agree. Do we have, I know we have access to the, I mean, let's take care of most of this right now while we have everyone. I'm sure an annual report. I don't see how there's a way to avoid it becoming a meeting. So while we're all here, I think we should have this discussion.
Okay.
What day is the report due?
It's due after, I'm sorry, I did not mean to do that. So sorry.
Sorry.
I was going to pull up the annual report from the county website, and I apologize. So the annual report is due after the year end. So the year end is December 31st. Typically what happens is the board commission committee votes to approve said report to submit to the commissioners, and that would be at your January meeting. So at the same meeting you hold the election, you would also vote to approve to submit your annual report to the commissioners.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So we need to get it done now. The question I asked, and I need to put in writing and send to Ms. Swint so she can check with legal, is if we do anything by email and say I email the entire board the report, does that constitute a meeting? And will that need to be entered into board docs as a public meeting?
I believe that there have been some rulings on that through the Open Meetings Act, the Attorney General's Open Meetings Act Commission that they have,
Yeah.
that electronic communications can be considered a meeting. So, if you send a report out and we start discussing it amongst each other, that could be problematic.
Well,
I'm not a parliamentarian, but
yeah. So these are the kinds of discussions. So if that does prevent us from having a meeting, would the board be available or open to a meeting in December, early December, to discuss the annual report? And we don't have to keep it very long. I'm going to try to keep the report very short, one page as the minimum requirement. If it's a little bit longer, we have a quorum, we can vote on it, as I understand the rules. But scheduling and everything else how would we handle that? Would that be okay? Because this board's only meets every quarter. It doesn't meet before that or more than that unless we vote to have a special meeting.
Yes, so if the board decides to have a special meeting in the December timeframe to review the annual report prior to the vote to submit, you would essentially just let me know and I'll go ahead and schedule it as a special meeting. So the agenda would essentially only be discussion of annual report,
Okay.
unless you wanted to include anything else. And that would go out to the public. It would be on the county website. The public has the ability to view, comment, et cetera, attend.
All right. Any thoughts from
Okay.
folks in the room?
does staff have any suggestions of proposed dates or anything?
Not to put you on the spot.
Sorry about that. I'm sorry. I have no ideas, too.
So I believe this room is available the third Thursday of every month. You're in here for quarterly. It may be reasonable to assume that you could schedule, and I don't know what the third Thursday of December is. That may be too close.
December 16th.
Okay, so that would be December 16th. We could essentially tentatively schedule that date, and I can confirm room availability.
Okay.
Do we need to vote on that?
Okay. I believe so. Can I have a motion to create a annual report review meeting for December 16th?
I make a motion that we have a special meeting on just December 16th at 1 o'clock to hold a special meeting in this room.
I second the motion.
All right, it carries. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
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 Karen? Karen Gardner?
I'm I'm not sure if that's going to work. I'm being pulled in a lot of directions, so I just can't promise at this time. So.
Okay.
Oh, and I'd like to remind members to please identify themselves when speaking in the meeting. This is the chair, by the way.
All right. So definitely
Any-
December 16th then. And we'll see if that works, and I'll pull together a report, and at that time, we'll discuss it for the quorum. I'll send it, I'll post it on board docs. We'll have to discuss it. I'll call you and discuss, Allison, how we're going to best do this.
Okay.
Because the board does need to see the report before we sit down and discuss it.
Okay.
All right?
And last year's last year's annual report is on the county website.
Okay. I'll take a look at that.
It's under your particular committee, Transportation Advisory Committee, and under annual report, it lists the last several years. So you can not only select and view the last one, but the years prior as well.
Cool. Okay. Madam Chair, back to you.
And so while we're at it, what are some of the topics that we want to see in the report? There is the blatantly obvious, some of our goals that we had for the year and what we were able to achieve. Are there any requests for items that should go into this report?
Madam Chair.
Okay, hearing no go ahead.
Ms. Swent, typically the report is everything that the board worked on. So if you had set goals at the beginning of the year, then the report would be the goals that you met or what you did to attain those goals and to reach those goals.
Okay.
This is the vice chair. Just looking at it, also including future plans for, I guess, would be the following year of the TAC, so 2022. That seems to be important to include as well.
I agree. So barring any further discussion, I believe we can wrap this meeting up. Thank you to all who attended or listened in to this quarter's Transportation Advisory Committee. The recordings will be available online. Our next meeting will be held in the same place and time on January 20th, 2022. Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
This is vice chair. I motion to adjourn today's meeting.
This is Yolanda Hipsky, I second.
This is Kevin Corrigan.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Okay.